War Report coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out SmackDowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space. Now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the War Report podcast, brought to you by TagMeADate.com. First and only dating site for wrestling fans, coming back soon. Vince is coming. You got myself and Eric. Cat may drop in. Eddie will not be with us tonight, unfortunately, but he is listening. Vince is here. We'll get him added on. But welcome, everyone. Starting with a little MJF, because once again, he fucking killed it on Dynamite with another amazing promo. Vince, welcome to the show. Yeah, you're a little blurry. Everyone's good. I thought I was drinking. You were a little blurry.
Oh, there we go.
Much better. So MJF kills it again with another fucking promo.
Of course.
Leaves CM Punk speechless.
So I was there. That was
That's
AEW
right.
Dynamite Bridgeport. Great show. I mean, AEW puts on a hell of a show. I'm not making anybody seasick. I'm just trying to get the camera right. All right, there we go. Shit. So anyway, yeah, man. Welcome to the War Report. MJF's music, for an obvious reason, he cut the promo of a lifetime. I don't know what to tell you. Like, that was his. Not that he doesn't do good promos all the time. That was probably his best.
Oh, without question. I mean, it was so real, like, you know, it couldn't have been better. Hey, Tara, welcome to the show. Hope all is well. But yeah, I mean, MJF just, you know, every time he opens his mouth, he just gets better and better. He really does. It's just unbelievable to me. And, you know, I like the slow build of this match with Punk. I do. Well, I shouldn't say match because we already had one, but this whole feud, just how long it's taken to get where we are now, and really, like, this far in now, we're really getting like the true "this is why I hate you" kind of thing. And
Right.
you know,
This is one of the best feuds in modern history, I think.
I can't argue with you.
Well, especially when you say modern, because the last 5 years or so have not been great for WWE storytelling. AEW's only been around for 3 years, but I feel like, there's the long-term story that they told with Hangman and Kenny that they finally paid off with Hangman winning the title, which was great. But the short-term stories that they tell can also come together like that. And I think this MJF Punk one, Punk came in knowing who he wanted to work with. He specifically mentioned wanting to work with the young guys. He mentioned Darby. He mentioned MJF. I just, you take a guy like MJF, who is almost all the way there, only 25 years old, and you put him with a guy that's been there and done that 1,000 times over. And that just, you're sprinkling a little bit of magic CM Punk dust over the whole thing. So it's like, it's a little bit of the chocolate, a little bit of the peanut butter coming together and making a Reese's cup. And that's, it's a great little story that's going on right now.
And we've said this before too. Even his mother gets involved on Twitter, and
Funny.
and even this time she was like, "You've never made me so proud to be your mother," like with that genuine promo.
But here's the thing. It's going to be this week, or it's going to be at the pay-per-view, or maybe the Dynamite after the pay-per-view. He's going to come out and be like, it's not true, whatever. You know what I mean? Like he's going to say something about that. I
Well,
just
of
have a feeling it's
course,
going to
because
be,
that's what makes him such a great heel. But yeah, of
Yeah.
course. But
does my beard look that shitty? Like, I'm sorry, guys. I should have straightened my beard before I came on here. It's out of control.
it's a little out there, that's for sure.
You know,
I didn't even brush
I
it.
feel
That's
like
bad.
I can liken the MJF to Paul Heyman in a way, where he could kind of turn it on and off at a moment's notice and turn heel or face and just
Well, he's the kid. He was crying. He was
Yeah.
like legitimately. He had that's so hard as an actor to get yourself to cry, especially if it's something that's made up, which makes me think there's a lot of truth to it too.
I mean, you damn well know. We all know. Like, what's not shtick is that he was a huge CM Punk fan.
Yeah, and there are posts, like people are pulling up screenshots from before he started wrestling, like literally the post that he made when he announced that he was leaving college and leaving football scholarship. And then the picture that he put was that pay-per-view. God, I don't even know what it was called. It might have been Payback. Whatever it was the match where Daniel Bryan and CM Punk were both champions, and they had a champion versus champion match, but like John Cena versus John Laurinaitis was the main. So like,
Oh, I
even though
was
they were
at
both
that show.
the top guys,
I was at that show live.
which was a good, like that was a good match, but it was just so funny. It was those guys knew their placement was like, we're the world champions, but John Cena's still main eventing.
Yeah.
But that was the picture that was attached. It was CM Punk and Daniel Bryan shaking hands. So obviously there's something there. The Wrestling Classic, which was the Instagram account he mentioned, which got a big pop for me live because I follow that account and I've been following them for a while. They posted a comment from MJF back when he was right before he started training. He commented on one of their posts. He said, "Hey, I've been playing football. I hate it. I'm in college only because of football, and I hate school. So I'm going to stop doing it, and I'm going to start, training to be a wrestler." He mentions CM Punk in it. He mentions that Instagram account, like following that Instagram account, which is wild to me that like, I know it's a big account that people follow if they're wrestling fans, but it's just wild that particular thing that I've just taken for granted as I scroll by and look at the pictures that they post inspired him to become a wrestler.
Yeah, there's always that one thing that like is the trigger that says this is what I'm gonna fucking do with my life. Mick Foley, it was seeing Snuka dive off the top of a steel cage in Madison Square Garden, and it was at that moment he said, "Okay, this is what I'm gonna do in my life." It's just it takes one little thing, and it just,
And
it's
shout out
great.
to Punk for selling that too.
Unexpected, like it's such a produced thing nowadays, whether it's interference or whether it's coming out in the middle of a segment like that. You kind of just expect the music and the lights and the Titantron and all that crap to go on. And especially with a guy like Punk, who you'd think you hear the static, you hear Cult of Personality, everybody gets excited, they sing his theme. They completely subverted that. He comes out, no music. He walks
makes
out
it a
with
lot
this,
more real.
and right. It makes it more real. The look at it, like, listen, Punk is no slouch. Not that he's a world-class actor, but he's been in a couple movies. He's been in a couple TV shows where he's playing a character. Like he's been in other acting roles. He sold that really well. He came out. He's like, "Is it true?" And that whole thing off of, and it also worked better. Also, like you say, for the reality of it, there was no microphone. It wasn't like CM Punk was like, and let me tell you something, brother. Was that true? You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like that. It was a moment where he just came out. He's like, you got to be straight up with me. Did this actually happen? Because like Punk has famously said he would never apologize for leaving professional wrestling or leaving WWE when he did, because it was the best decision for him, for his physical health and for his mental health and for the future of him as a person, to leave. So he didn't want to apologize for that because he believed he made the best decision he did. However, this might lead to him making an apology of sorts to the fans that he left behind, like MJF. like us. I mean, shit, I was there the first time in New Orleans, WrestleMania 30, with my yellow CM Punk shirt with the lightning bolt on it. And before the show, everybody's chanting for CM Punk. And, little did we know at the time, we're chanting for CM Punk and he's never coming out and he's not going to come out for another 7 years. So, like, I get it. I wasn't mad at the guy, Phil. Like, I'm not mad at Phil Brooks. I'm mad at the situation that caused such a talent like CM Punk to leave. That's, to me, is the tragedy of it. There was a whole situation there, organizational from the top down, that caused him to leave. That's what I'm mad about. But this is kind of flipped to like that kind of like obsessive fan, or like a fan who like took the CM Punk thing personally, like you take like taking a wrestling storyline personally, but also taking the quitting of him leaving WWE personally. It's a cool little story that they got going on here.
I just say everything about it's been great. It's
and-
just been a home run, and I'm happy for MJF too, because
Yeah,
the
he's
reality
getting to
is
shine.
he's getting to shine, and he's getting to work with the guy that made him want to get into the business. I mean,
And all the rumblings, like on the internet, especially after that promo, or these last couple weeks building up the Punk thing, all the comments are saying, "I hope, or he should be, the guy to take the title off of Hangman." Which there's an argument to be made for it, but there's also an argument to be made like, I think he's. I guess there's no such thing as too young in this business anymore. It has changed, but I almost feel like he needs to resolve this thing with Wardlow. It almost seems like Wardlow might win either the number one contendership or the TNT title itself, and then refuse to hand it over to MJF. And maybe MJF needs to take the TNT. I don't know. I guess he could just jump the TNT title. He doesn't need to build his way up because he's already at the top. So I guess forget what I just said. He can go for the world title, but I don't know. If you had to give me, betting odds, I think MJF is high up there. But like,
is he
for
ready
guys that-
to be the guy, the face of the company?
Right? Because like you've got guys like Cole who just came in. There's a big argument for him being the next champion. There's a big argument for Daniel Bryan being the next champion, Bryan Danielson being the next champion.
See, but I got to tell you, those are guys that not for nothing, I'd almost rather see MJF over any of those guys, because MJF is an original.
right.
It's like
And
Adam
that's the other
Cole just, Cole just got there, Bryan just got there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It should go to a guy like MJF who's really made a name for himself.
Right. And is, as you would say, an AEW original. Not that he never wrestled before them, but that was his first public, big national exposure was AEW. So it would make a lot of sense, but would also, I don't know if with the way AEW goes, the titles get held on to for an extended period of time, several months, 2 or 3 pay-per-views, if not a year. I just don't know if that's a lot to put on a guy that's 25 years old to say, hey, this is your belt and you've got it for 8 months. And then you're going to drop it to something. Like, we've already got the plan written out. You've got the title for 8 months. Like, what's that?
How long ago did Paige win it?
Full Gear would have been November.
Wow.
Yeah, and it both feels like a long time and not a long time for Paige, because he's had a lot of title defenses, but a lot of them were not on pay-per-view. So it's kind of a weird thing there.
You could kind of make the case for Wardlow to be a future AEW World Champion too.
Dude,
Absolutely.
It's a lot easier to get a sense of what people like live. It's kind of you get the real response. Wardlow was an unbelievable response to Wardlow. Even though Hook was only out there for that little segment on Rampage, he got a huge reaction. Adam Page got a as he should, as the world champion, got a huge reaction when he came out after that tag team battle royale. But yeah, I think Wardlow,
And then Keith Lee just came in too.
and they're gonna have this ladder match that's just gonna be, most of it is big guys. And big guys in a ladder match, especially with the shit Keith Lee can do. I am looking forward to that match.
Oh my God, it's going to be amazing.
The face of the revolution. Oh man. Yeah, dude. I think
AEW's got a lot of good things going right now.
yeah, they seem to be firing on all cylinders. I know the Rampage Friday night show doesn't get a whole lot of viewers, but it's on Friday at 10 p.m. And if the network thinks it's going to do better at another time slot, they should probably move it to another time slot. But TBS and TNT also have obligations to the NHL, to the NBA, Major League Baseball. So they prioritize the live sports, even though AEW is now one of their live sports offerings, still not as big as the mainstream sports. So I get why it is where it has to be on Fridays, but I think it being taped doesn't help because there are spoilers that get out. I think it being at 10 p.m. doesn't help. But at the same time, that after they end Dynamite and they tape Rampage, it's such a fun show to watch. Like, it's an hour. The matches are 5 or 10 minutes long. They get right to, there's no like long chin lock spots, right? It's just a wrestling match and it's 5 or 10 minutes long and there's a finish and then everybody goes home. And, some fun shit happened like Ty Conti challenging Jade for the TBS title. So like there's a whole bunch of shit that happens on Rampage too. It's a fun show, but like that's the only thing I can think of that might be a negative right now for AEW is that Rampage is not where it should be. Everything else, like the women's division, is so much better than where it was.
Oh yeah, improved exponentially.
And it's just little things like it's adding Serena Deeb. It's adding like Jade. Jade has improved so much in the last 8 months. She's working with Bryan Danielson. She looks like a star. She walks like a star. She's in great shape. And you've got other pieces around her where if she can't wrestle that well yet, you put her in with one of the veterans and it's going to do big business. And the friggin' the contract signing between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, DMD, super duper over. Mercedes Martinez in Connecticut. She's from Waterbury. We're down the street in Bridgeport. She got a big reaction. That women's championship match. I hope the girls, their women in that match, can live up to the expectation and the hype that they've created because they've already had such a good lights out match. And they've already had these cool, like that last segment where Thunder jumped over the table and just cross-body blocked DMD was fantastic. And it, I think it really hyped people for that match. And I hope they another match that I'm looking forward to on that Revolution show.
It's going to be a great show. I mean, it really is.
Revolution has been, I think, my favorite pay-per-view every year from AEW. Aside from the original All Out, maybe. Because Revolution had that great tag match between the Young Bucks against Omega and Hangman. And that was the match where at the end of it, it looked like the Young Bucks were going to super kick Kenny, but then Kenny would stand over the Young Bucks and look like all three of them were going to super kick Page. And then Page is outside the ring, but he's holding on the rope, so it looks like he's going to buckshot lariat the guy. They're teasing all this tension that never actually got resolved until like the build up to Page winning the title. So like that was the seed that was planted, and they kept going from there. And like that match was great. Revolution for me has been a solid pay-per-view every time.
What do you think this big announcement is this week from Tony Khan?
So the speculation is that it has something to do with Ring of Honor and or Impact. In that, one rumor I've seen floated is that he's purchased the ROH and Impact tape libraries and will be announcing a streaming service that will include Impact, all the old Impact stuff, all the old ROH stuff, and the old and current AEW stuff. So that would be great. Or if it was on like
I'd
Turner-
rather you be telling me right now that he purchased ROH and we're gonna get
That's the
we're gonna
other
get the Briscoes finally.
But that's the other thing that's being floated out there. Because if you bought the tape library, the assumption is why would you just buy the Ring of Honor tape library if you don't buy the whole damn company? And
Right.
they're right. So
Plus,
go ahead.
I was going to say, you also have this current thing where ROH is invading Impact. So
Right.
they're both like in the loop.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping, like, this is me being a conspiracy theorist with this wrestling stuff. Matt Cardona won the NWA title a couple weeks ago.
He's a
Chelsea
belt
Green is
collector now.
challenging for the women's title, for the NWA women's title at their next pay-per-view. And they've just added Jeff Jarrett as the special guest referee to the men's NWA title match. There's this thing already going on with Impact having Cardona having a bunch of indie belts. Long story short, I'm including the NWA in my conspiracy of what Tony Khan has either purchased or made a deal with.
Yeah, that's a good
Like, I
idea, too.
really feel like if he's going to go big, he might as well just go big and be like, listen, Billy Corgan, I don't know what you're doing with the NWA fucking title, but like having it on Nick Aldis for 5 years wasn't the play. And then giving it to Trevor Murdoch was nice, but like, yeah, you had to put it on somebody like Cardona. So, but I think Cardona could be the gap, or the guy that bridges the gap between all the companies. And it's like, you know, or the other thing that I saw was that if Khan buys ROH, they're going to do a Vince and Shane situation when the WCW buyout happened. And Cody bought, in big quotes, Ring of Honor.
Huh.
So
Wow.
Cody runs Ring of
Oh, that would be interesting.
Oh.
and they have they have the Ring of Honor AEW feud, but it's all internal. I don't know. That would be interesting because Brandy put up a post on Twitter that said, "Don't believe everything you read." I don't know. Like, people watched Raw last night to see if Cody would come out. And he didn't come out. People have been they're calling it Cody Watch, like we're tracking a tropical storm. They're trying to figure, like, they're watching. If Raw is never going to bring him in, it was a good tease to get some more viewers. Like,
If Cody's gonna be in WWE, it's either gonna be at Mania or Raw the night after.
or maybe that Madison Square Garden show. Like,
Oh,
they're
yeah,
they're
that's
building up
possible.
that Madison Square Garden show too.
Yeah, they are. I mean, that would be a perfect, place for it. I just want to point out that Eddie has figured out why Rampage viewership isn't as strong as you would think it would be, besides the fact that it's on Friday in that time slot. No one wants to watch Rampage after watching the Tribal Chief, and that's
Oh.
why it's so hard to get the viewers.
Yeah, I get it. Because after you watch Roman Reigns, you're a little sleepy. You want to just, put
I
some
don't
naps.
think that's where he was headed with that.
Oh no, I know. 548 days or whatever it is.
Acknowledge him.
Yeah. The never-ending title reign.
I love it. I fucking love it. I do.
But at this
I
point,
do. I'm good with it.
people are like, "What if he breaks Bruno's record?" And that's like 7 years. I'm like, you know what?
That's not
How much worse could it get if he had the title for 7 years? He's basically had the title hostage since like 2015. Screw it.
If you would have told me 6 months ago, well, we pretty much knew even 6 months ago that Mania was going to be Brock versus Roman. We had a feeling, but at that point, I wasn't really interested. Now, I'm like, this is the most entertaining either of them have been.
Brock coming back and not being the typical Brock
So
Lesnar.
it's a new dynamic. For
Brock
them.
being Cowboy Brock is like the greatest thing ever.
It changed because it did. You're right. It changed the whole feeling of it because
Brock is now referring to Heyman as a dick.
And
it's fucking
obviously
great.
Roman is a completely different guy than he used to be too. So it's
This is the best Roman Reigns we've ever had, hands down.
yeah, they've tweaked that that as well.
It's amazing. They finally let him be himself, and holy shit, he got over.
It's almost like that thing that the fans have been saying for like years.
Yeah.
let the guys be themselves.
And could it possibly eventually lead to him being the ultimate babyface that they tried to make him initially?
Eventually, yeah.
I think
Because
that's always
because of how over
that's the
he is
plan.
as a heel,
Yeah, there's going to be a
it's
big,
like The Rock.
but there's got to be a moment. And I don't know if Brock is the moment to turn. I think the moment is whoever eventually beats Roman to be the new top guy. That's what's going to send Roman. That's Roman's going to get screwed over, or something's going
Right.
to happen where he goes on like a losing streak, or bad shit happens to him, and then it's going to be sympathy, and then boom, Roman's a babyface again.
And we're all just
I
thinking,
want my
like,
title
who
back.
is that guy gonna be that beats Roman?
It's going to be Braun Breaker or Austin Theory, because those are the only two guys that they've actually given a shit about. Those are the only, like, right now, if I had to put money on it, those are the only two guys. There's nobody, like, because if Seth beats him, it's no big deal. Seth beats him. If Kevin Owens beats him, first of all, it would be improbable because Kevin Owens just lost to him 27 times in a row in the last year. So, I don't know. There's no main roster guy, and I guess Austin Theory's on the main roster now. But you know what I'm saying. He's from NXT. There's no established WWE superstar that I think could win the title and then suddenly be transformed into a new top guy. That would get like blessed by, the title means you're the top guy now. I just don't.
Braun Breaker's your best bet.
I think he is, man. Here would be the thing. The way that Braun Breaker ascends to the next level is to not only go to Raw or SmackDown, but when you go to Raw or SmackDown, your name is fucking Steiner.
Right.
Forget Braun. Your name is Steiner because everybody.
Well, unfortunately,
knows.
I don't think that's his choice.
I know, but it's like it was
That's
like
the problem.
having Mr. Perfect's son and calling him Michael McGill fucking Cuddy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
what
Like,
the fuck?
doesn't
Right.
make any sense. I guess, Rick Steiner talked bad about WWE in interviews and stuff, and he says things about Triple.
But
that's,
there's rumors about the Steiners possibly going in the Hall of Fame too. So
they should, if they made that kind of concession.
I mean, Rick came in to congratulate his son when he won the NXT title.
That doesn't make any sense either, because they're gonna go, oh look, there's Rick Steiner and his son Braun Breaker. Be like, is that his son, or was the mailman's last name Breaker? Like, what are we doing here?
I don't know. It makes no sense to me. I mean,
I think he's the guy. I mean, if you look at him,
he's definitely the guy.
Young guy, good look. He can, he's been doing, not just straight training as a wrestler. He's been involved in around wrestling for a long time. He absorbed, much the way like a Cody Rhodes absorbed all of that stuff from his dad. Braun Breaker absorbed all that from Rick and Scott, and is applying it. And there's nobody around that cuts a Scott Steiner style or Rick Steiner Dogface Gremlin style promo anymore. It was a very niche 80s and 90s thing. Those promos used to be all over the place. Everybody cut a promo like that in the 80s and 90s. Not a lot of people do it anymore, and he's brought it back, and he's
such a hybrid of his father and his uncle. It's
amazing.
Yeah,
and he just stands out amongst the rest of the NXT guys as this guy is a big deal. Physically, whatever, the whole thing just screams big deal. So
maybe they could change up his name, have Breaker be like his nickname, like the Breaker, Braun Steiner.
Yeah, I don't understand any of it. The only thing that I can think of is in Game of Thrones, there was Brandon Stark. Bran was called the Builder because he built the wall in the north to protect whatever the hell from the White Walkers or whatever. And then there's the character, the Breaker of Chains, which was the Daenerys Targaryen, one of her nicknames. I feel like somebody watched a lot of Game of Thrones and they're like, his name should be Braun Breaker, the Breaker of Chains. You know what I mean? Like, it's a silly little. I can't even imagine where they got it from.
It's stupid. That's all there is to it. It's fucking stupid.
But anyway, yeah. About who the guy is, like,
It's got to be. Right
gotta be.
now, it's the only one that makes sense. But we should touch a little bit on SmackDown and Raw because we do have Saturday's Madison Square Garden show coming up. Because we need a big event like that right before WrestleMania, a 2-night stupendous extravaganza that we're getting.
Of course.
So I will say, well, where should we start? SmackDown or Raw? What do you guys want to do?
I mean, I don't know what happened.
Isn't it weird that I feel like SmackDown is so long ago, even though it wasn't, and I just don't remember anything?
It was so long ago. I mean, it was. Well, you had here's some of the highlights, right? Sami Zayn beat the shit out of Johnny Knoxville, which is setting up their match for WrestleMania, which I think is interesting.
Bathroom break for me.
I mean, listen, they say that Knoxville's been pretty dedicated. He is a sick fuck, so he's probably willing to do something crazy. So,
yeah, there's gonna be a big stunt or a big crash, or like they're gonna jump off something. Like something stupid is going to happen in this match.
Doesn't do anything for me.
Well, it doesn't do anything for the Intercontinental title. It was defended at WrestleMania 3 between Macho Man and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Like, what are we doing? The titles are so like there's so little talent in the company, and the titles are so devalued that the biggest names on WrestleMania this year are part-timer Brock Lesnar, part-timer Ronda Rousey, retired Vince McMahon, retired Stone Cold Steve Austin, non-wrestler Johnny Knoxville, non-wrestler Logan Paul. It's like it's I know WrestleMania is not just WrestleMania, it's about the celebrities and the involvement, blah, 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 blah. But this is not it, folks. Like, at least
Logan fucking Paul, really? Come on.
Mr. T knew how to. Mr. T was a professional boxer and a professional actor. This guy's a professional YouTube douchebag. There's a big difference between like Cyndi Lauper's involvement and Logan Paul's. You know what I mean? Just it's staggering how we can get.
And his brother is the one that's the athlete, right?
I think they're both athletic.
Both? I don't know.
I guess I don't know which one of them boxes. One of them doesn't box. I think, or maybe both boxed. It's outside. This is why they do it at WrestleMania. They try and get more eyes on WWE by involving people from outside, and it makes WWE look bigger by association because they're paired with somebody else in pop culture. I understand why you bring celebrities in. I really do. But like Bob Uecker interviewed Andre the Giant, and you know what I mean? And like Burt Reynolds was a ring announcer one time, and you know what I mean? Like, that's what you do. Jonathan Taylor Thomas was the timekeeper at WrestleMania.
That's right. I remember that.
You know what I'm saying? Like
the Pamela Anderson thing.
Right. Logan Paul, and even though she did a good job, fucking Snooki wrestling at what are we doing? When they do that shit, it devalues wrestling as an
art. Not only does it devalue it as an art form, because you're right there, but the other thing too is it's taking a slot away from somebody that's been busting their ass all year round to get on the show. That's the problem. You got enough people back there that deserve an opportunity to get a payday on the biggest stage of them all.
What's Rollins going to do, man?
Like, they're going to set something up for him. I have a question, though, before we get into that, because we were touching on Braun Breaker and the whole non-affiliation as a Steiner for whatever reason.
Right.
Here's another question I have to add to that, kind of, sort of. There was a great match on SmackDown. The Lethal Lovers versus Big E and Kofi Kingston, but they refused to refer to them as the New Day. Now it's the team of Big E and Kofi Kingston. We're not saying New Day anymore. Why the fuck not? Like, the crowd's still chanting New Day. The music is still the same. So
because I don't know. Xavier's not there, so it's technically not the new. Like, that's again, it's just a stupid.
Vince so they'll refer to it as the New Day when Xavier's King Woods is back.
I guess. Like who? Like that's the thing.
It reminds me of like when Ahmed Johnson came into WCW as Big T, and they had this fucking feud over the letter T.
Yeah, Booker T couldn't use the letter T anymore. He was just Booker. That was when they brought in Midnight. Oh gosh, that whole thing. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But again, it's Bruce Pritchard or Kevin Dunn or Vince McMahon woke up one day and they're just like, I think I'm going to change this, and they just fucking change it. It doesn't, or maybe because both of those guys are now former world champions, they might think their individual names are worth more than the name The New Day, because you would associate Kofi Kingston with being world champion, associate Big E with being a world champion, you associate The New Day with like the tag team titles or like, you know, throwing pancakes in the audience. Who knows?
I don't know. It made no sense. But anyway, there was the next match. They had Natalya and the in-ring debut of Xia Li. I mean, it was what it was. She's not bad. She's apparently the first Chinese woman. That's how they're booking her. I don't know how to feel about her yet, to be honest with you. That Sasha Banks destroyed Shotzi. And then Shotzi takes out Sasha afterwards. So I guess I know there's a new team now. It's going to be Banks and the Glow going after the tag team championship. So I guess that's going to be Sasha's role for WrestleMania.
They were former stablemates.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing with Sasha now. She's going for the women's tag titles again.
So I don't even remember who are the tag champs in the women's.
It's Carmella and Zelina, and that's only because I saw somebody say it online. Like the exact conversation we just had now happened online earlier today, where it was like, who is even the tag team champions?
And then I couldn't care less about Carmella anymore.
So the best part,
she's supposed to have sex with Corey if they win. They're going to copy the live sex celebration because we need to rehash that bullshit.
Yeah, I don't get it. The best part of SmackDown, though, was the contract signing between Roman and Lesnar.
Oh, man.
Heyman cuts another great promo. Roman cuts a decent promo. Brock cuts a decent promo calling Paul Heyman a dick. And then calls all the security guards skid marks and then destroys them all.
Skid marks is such a great, like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But it was great. Like, it was a great segment. It was a long segment, but it was a great segment. Like, everybody did their job well. It just, it was a good, it was good. I enjoyed it. So then we move on to Monday Night Raw. Did you even watch, Vince? Anything on Raw or
no? I was just what I was waiting for was somebody online to comment, "Oh my God, Cody just came out," and then I was going to turn it on. I could not bring myself to sit through 3 hours of that. I don't think I've watched a full episode of the WWE program period since the NXT Halloween Havoc. That was the last Raw, SmackDown, NXT. That was the last one I've watched all the way through.
Well, there's some things that I enjoyed. There were some things I did not. So, want to start with I have to talk about Gable again. They had a segment where I think it was the opening of the show. They opened with the Kevin Owens show. So him and Rollins came out. They're doing their shtick. Hilarious, but they're doing their thing. As annoying as Seth Rollins' voice is, but it was still funny. And then Gable and what's his face come out? Otis. And they're a part of the show. And Owens and Seth Rollins start like making fun of the way Gable says things, like the way he says shush, and
I want one of those t-shirts.
And then thank you. So like Kevin Owens looks at him and goes, why do you say it like that? So weird. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, when you say thank you. And he goes, I don't say it weird. Thank you. It's just funny. So the segment actually was 18 minutes long. This is how they opened the show. Okay. We haven't had any match yet. 18 minutes, but it was written well because I laughed my ass off. It ended with a shush off between Kevin Owens and Gable a shush off. Like he'd say shush, he'd say don't shush me, shush, don't shush me. And it's going back and forth. I laughed out loud. It was absolutely hilarious. And then it ended up in a melee, which then became a tag team match, which was actually a really good match. And Owens and Rollins won, but it was a great match. And that's how they opened the show. So the first half hour was this long segment and the match.
Mhm.
But it actually worked this week, in my opinion, just because it was written well. It's amazing what happens when something works. And a lot of the credit obviously has to go to the wrestlers because they're pulling it off. And Gable's just been great. I mean, Gable really reminds me so much of Kurt Angle. It's incredible.
I kind of want one of those shoosh shirts.
I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure it's
Oh,
coming.
I've seen them wear it, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
have you?
No.
Yeah, it's coming. So
But that's the thing, he's another guy that we've talked about and fans have talked about for a while. That's back when it was him and Jordan in NXT, American Alpha, whatever it was, that even something as stupid as Shorty G, they gave it to him and he worked it out. And part of me doesn't like it because they do this to a lot of people. They give him a bad gimmick. Like FTR, they wanted to put him in those stupid hats and makeup and wear clocks around their neck and shit. And they said no. And then it's like, well, you're not a team player. So they do this to like test people. And it's like a psychological thing that I don't fuck with. I think it's pretty stupid. But like, he was one of those people that was like, okay, well, they're going to fuck with me and give me this bad gimmick. I'm going to make as good as I possibly can. And he worked, he basically forced them to treat him seriously because of the way he was able to take that and work it into something. And the same thing with this whole Alpha Academy thing, which you start off with somebody as likable as Otis immediately turning heel, cutting his hair, changing his outfit, losing his last name, losing everything that was unique about him to just be a generic guy in the background of these fucking segments. And that was awful. And even at the beginning of it, I wasn't sold on Shorty G. I mean, I'm still not, but I wasn't sold on this Alpha Academy thing. And the more Gable worked it and was able to, and I feel this is another thing where they just, if they leave guys alone and let them figure shit out, they're gonna be fine. Like, there's a reason you hired Chad Gable, and it's not to be Shorty G and do all this shit. You hired him because he's a good wrestler and because you thought he had charisma and was able to do all these things. So there we go. And I think, honestly, I just figured it out. It's, they're Adam Sandler movie characters. This is like, it's like, Chad Gable is like the teachers, and then Otis is like Billy Madison. You know what I mean? Like, I really get that, like, Chris Farley, Adam Sandler vibe between these two guys with the way they're acting. So I think like they are.
now that you say that, I can kind of see that. That's funny.
Like I just love it because he's saying these thank you, shush, all these little things that like if he was on like Saturday Night Live, you'd be waiting, like you wait for Canteen Boy to come out and do something. It's like, oh, he's gonna come out and he's gonna say the shush thing. Like he's such.
And he could do. Oh my God, he could do the David Spade bye bye thing.
You can start saying bye-bye. Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, I just think he's so
right
good.
now. What they gave him, he's killing it, and I think this is going to be the game changer for him. I really do, and I do too because he's very good. He's very very good.
Guys anyone under 6 feet tall in that company is against the goddamn 8 ball. Look at Adam Cole. I mean, Tommaso Ciampa. Like Johnny Gargano, they were great in NXT, but then like you look at it, you go, they're gonna stand next to Omos and look like they're a toddler. So it's just like you knew the smaller guys have such a hard time on the main roster.
So you said Omos. I wanna. So Kat yesterday sent a text to the group, and she says, just in case you're not watching, I have seen something that's really gonna piss you off, Steve. And you're going to probably rant. So I said, well, you're right. I'm not watching. I'm not going to be watching till tomorrow. So I'm pretty damn sure I know what she was talking about. And it has to do with Omos because we finally got the return of T-Bar. who should now be Dijak or Dijakovic at this fucking point,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Retribution is a memory at best. And
A bad one.
and you're keeping him T-Bar. He got fucking squashed by Omos.
Oh, no.
And when I say, and this is the first time Omos is fighting somebody that's like, just, not as tall, but pretty damn close. And he almost attacks him beforehand. And then the match doesn't really ever get started, and he just demolishes him in the ring. He does his typical spots and the choke slam and all that. Hey, what's up on YouTube? Appreciate you checking us out. Welcome to the show. But yeah, so it was just sad, man, because he just got fucking destroyed. But because it wasn't an official match, I imagine we're going to have the pleasure of seeing this again next week. And this time it'll be an actual match, but he's still going to get fucking squashed. And that's sad.
The thing. And that's, you mentioned the Dijak thing. And thank you for our new commenter here on YouTube. Thanks for following along. It would be great if, as a shock, next week, instead of just getting jumped and squashed by Omos, T-Bar comes out, bell rings, he goes and just bum rushes Omos, hits the feast your eyes and pins him, and then takes the mask off or whatever he does and goes, I'm Dijak, cuts a promo. He's like, feast your eyes, I'm Dijak again, or whatever. And like, going into WrestleMania, now you've got a guy who could challenge for like something.
And then hopefully we
something
don't
with
see
him.
Omos ever again.
But here's the thing. I understand you always want a new Andre or a new big like, that's been the thing. After Andre went away, Vince saw Paul White working as the Giant in WCW, and he said, I want to book that guy better than WCW. I'm going to book him like Andre. Well, it turns out he booked him to turn heel or face every 2 minutes for 15 years. But that's aside from the thing. After Big Show, they had to develop a new big guy. They tried Nathan Jones, didn't work out. They tried Luke Gallows, didn't work out. They tried a number of big guys until finally they found Braun Strowman, and they're like, okay, here's our next big guy. And then Omos came along, who's even bigger, and they're like, you know what? Fuck this Braun Strowman guy. We're paying Omos peanuts, and he can just stand there and karate chop people or whatever the hell he does. And, it's the same kind of thing, just a big, tall, imposing, sideshow attraction of a person. They don't even care how well he wrestles. He just has to be
see, and that's the problem, because they rushed Omos.
Right.
He's working. He's working with Nash. He was working with Taker. He's working with big guys to help him navigate and move better in the ring. And just, I don't know, man. It's too much too soon for him. I don't think he's ready. And then on top of it, he's squashing a guy like T-Bar, who's so fucking talented. Right. I mean, they've just completely ruined him. So I hope he can get out of his contract soon and go to AEW, quite honestly, because
that'd be so nice.
He would have some great shit going on. So that was on Raw. We also had
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I was hoping you kept going with Raw, because I know there was I know what the main event segment was, so I didn't know if you were gonna.
I was gonna jump really to that. And Finn Balor is now your United States champion.
And, Damian Priest is now officially a bad guy, or even though he was kind of already being a bad guy, now he's like officially a bad
turns
guy.
in a row.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. He's another guy. He cut, from what I've heard, he cut the "you fans, you people" promo, and it's the same. Like, just get a new shtick, man. Everybody that turns is a "you people." It's because of you people. It's like, all right, fine. MJF is a bad guy because CM Punk broke his heart back in 2014. Like, there's character development there. It's not just, well, you people out there. It's just find a new slant on this.
It's like a cop out.
It really is. It's the cheapest. We can't think of something, so we're just going to have him blame the fans. Okay.
Well, listen, it's the easy route.
Right. That's what it is.
You know what it is? It's the easy route. But we also had another classic Edge.
Oh, yeah.
Segment. Turns, I guess, heel
Maybe.
and decimates AJ Styles, but we are going to get AJ Styles Edge at WrestleMania, which should be
That's awesome.
that's a match. That's a match that puts asses in the seats, and that's a match that who would have ever thought we would get kind of thing.
Wasn't there
So
a point? Was it a year ago, 2 years ago, when Edge first made his return in the Royal Rumble? He had a sequence with AJ that was really fun, but it ended with AJ tearing his bicep or injuring his arm or something. And the plan for the Edge AJ Styles match that year got scrapped.
that vaguely sounds familiar, but
I feel like that happened. So, I mean, this was a match. I think as soon as Edge got back and did a stare down with AJ Styles in the Royal Rumble, that's a match you want. They're not that they're both. AJ's a little bit shorter, I believe, but like AJ Styles had his big run around the same time Edge had his big run. At least during the TNA years, AJ had that big world championship run around the same time Edge was be doing it, and they never crossed paths because by the time AJ made it to WWE, Edge was already retired for 3 years or 4 years at that point. I'm sure maybe even 5 years. So they never had an opportunity to cross paths. And even when Edge was making appearances in between, then he was not cleared to do anything. They wouldn't even, they had Seth Rollins threaten him with a chair one time, and that was enough for John Cena to give power back to the Authority. That's how little Edge could do. He couldn't even he couldn't spear anybody. He couldn't defend himself. He couldn't take bumps. Like, he was in a bad way. So they never. Those are two guys who you would think, if once you mention it, you're like AJ and Edge. Oh yeah, those guys are gonna have a great match together. But because they never crossed paths, I don't think anybody ever really thought of it. It's a dream. It's definitely a dream match, but it's because those guys had such separate careers and never touched.
right.
That's the intriguing thing. Is like, I know both of them are towards the tail end of their career, but like, I still want to see it. So that to me is the most intriguing match for WrestleMania now that it's been added.
Yeah.
Everything else has kind of been what we were expecting. But Edge versus AJ Styles, I don't know, maybe you could have called it last year. Maybe you could call it at the Royal Rumble. You figured it. But like, I think just that match has, there's a lot of question marks on that one. Who wins? What happens? Is it going to be Edge really wants these like 45-minute long matches at WrestleMania now? That's been like his thing. So, are we going to get a 45-minute classic like that? Or are we going to just get a really solid 15 to 20-minute match from them? Do they pull out big spots? Do they have a big bump? Do they crash through some crash pads or off the stage or so? Both of those guys.
I think absolutely all of the above. And I think right now, my gut, I think AJ goes over.
I think so too.
I see that too.
But also, it's Edge. People like Edge came back. You want to see him win one. It's like he's been at these Well, did he win that one WrestleMania against Randy? I guess
he beat Orton. He won that last one. Yeah.
But he got stacked up last WrestleMania. You know what I mean? him and Daniel Bryan got stacked up by the Tribal Chief. So maybe and Edge had one of the, up until he faced Undertaker, he had one of the longest WrestleMania streaks, just behind the Undertaker as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Not so much anymore, but
WrestleMania is shaping up, slowly.
It would
but
be such a really good one-night WrestleMania.
That's the problem.
I don't
we
know
gotta
why.
do 2 fucking nights.
Because here's the thing: they're now putting both women's title matches
on the first night,
Saturday, and they've put the men's world title match on Sunday.
Why wouldn't you do 1 and 1 and 1 and 1?
And this is the problem that I thought they were going to fall into. There's going to be, and the New Japan has shown this with their New Year's. They used to have the one night, January 4th. Now it's January 4th and 5th. There's going to be one night that's considered the A show and one night that's considered the B show. And one of them does significantly better than the other, attendance wise and like match quality wise. So I think they're running into that right now.
Therein lies the problem with 2 nights.
And it's financially for WWE, because there's this subset of fans on the internet now that blow my mind, that just want to talk about the number of dollars that WWE makes, and therefore, because they make so much money, that's why they're better than AEW, or like Roman Reigns has 5 million followers on Twitter and Kenny Omega only has 500,000. And that's why, but it's like, I don't care if WWE makes $1 million on WrestleMania. I don't care if they make $100 million on WrestleMania. I care about watching a good show. WWE cares about selling tickets. I get that. And they want to sell. Here's what their minds. Well, it's 2 nights, which means 2 tickets, 2 admissions, 2, cuts of the merch sales, 2, they figure they're doubling up on everybody for the food, the nachos and the hot dogs and the concessions and all that. And everything. It just seems like a big money grab, aside from the fact that you already had previously a very nice setup. Friday night was SmackDown. Saturday night was NXT TakeOver. Sunday night was WrestleMania. Bomb, bomb, bomb. And then Monday night was Raw. You had a nice little flow right there, and it was a nice set of shows. Now it's like WrestleMania starts the Tuesday before, and there's like, Super Tuesday and Wacky Wednesday and, tie-dye t-shirt Thursday and all these fucking bullshit things leading up to WrestleMania. Like, WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania took place on a Sunday afternoon, and they had to finish it before the Rangers game started. They had to get the fuck out of Madison Square Garden and break down the ring and the set and the chairs and everything to take the covering off the ice, to Zamboni the ice, to have the New York Rangers play a game. They had to get the fuck out of that building. It was only like 2 or 3 hours long. And now we're there for days? It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Look, I've been to 3 WrestleManias in my life. As long as it's a 2-night thing, I don't want to go to WrestleMania until it's 1 again.
Well, would you feel like let's say you had the budget to go to WrestleMania and you could only buy tickets for 1 night of WrestleMania, and then you buy Saturday, and then you find out that you're not going to get a men's world title.
You buy it ahead of time. You don't know the card yet for each show.
They start selling those tickets in like September, October. It's a real roll of the dice as to what's going to happen between October and March or April. Big world of difference. People can get sick, people can get injured, people can get fired. There's the landscape. Like when they were selling WrestleMania tickets, guys like Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano either was still there or were still like in negotiations or maybe on their way out. Like the roster is completely different 6 months later or 4 months later, whatever it is. It's just crazy. You buy your tickets in advance. You're not, 1 night you're going to get all the women's matches, and then 1 night you're going to get the men's title. Like it just doesn't seem. And I know usually it was like, oh, there's 2 world titles. 2 men's world titles, 2 women's world titles, you split it evenly. This unification match, which from everything we've read is going to turn out to not be a unification match because they're going to split the title later on anyway, is really fucking things up, because now you don't, I guess you have Charlotte Ronda as the marquee match, but like, I don't know, dude. There's something about a night of WrestleMania where the world, like, to me, WrestleMania is where the world championship is defended. And like, I don't know, I would just be weird to not see a world title defended on a WrestleMania, even though it's being defended the next night. The whole thing is just weird to me.
And on that note, we have reached the top of the hour.
We flew through another one.
Yeah. Well, we are in the best part of the year for a wrestling fan. The build up to Revolution, as I said, one of AEW's most consistent quality pay-per-views, and WrestleMania season, things are finally shaping up. I'm still not jazzed that a lot of this WrestleMania card hasn't come together and we're about a month out, but it's getting there. So, and that's the exciting part, is seeing the pieces come together. Like hearing about, even though I didn't watch the segment, hearing about Edge and AJ Styles and then going back to watch it on YouTube or whatever. Great. Like that's a great addition. That is a WrestleMania worthy match. And I hope as we go along, we see more WrestleMania worthy matches come up. Yeah, so with that, guys, I really hope you stick with us. We are in, as I say, the thick of WrestleMania season, the thick of Revolution season. This is like March Madness for wrestling
The
fans,
nitty gritty, if you will.
if you will. We are going to be doing this all again next week. Tonight is NXT, tomorrow is Dynamite, Friday is SmackDown and Rampage, and then we are is the pay-per-view? I don't even know if AEW, I think, is this weekend. But whatever, we're going to come back and do it all again next Tuesday after watching many, many more hours of wrestling to discuss all of the updates and news and Cody watch and WrestleMania watch and all of our other things that we've got to keep an eye out on. We'll be back to discuss them next week on a Tuesday, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time. Adjust your clocks as necessary. We are live streaming all over the internet. We live stream on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter/Periscope, on Twitch. Most of the time on social media, you'll see us at Tag Me A Date. That's all one word, Tag Me A Date. You can find us on YouTube at Tag Me A Date. You can hit subscribe and hit the bell to get a notification when we go live or when we upload a video. Twitch.tv/War Report. War Report is all one word. If you're on other social medias like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, etc., just look up Tag Me A Date. You're going to see us there. Appreciate if you follow our accounts. And if you prefer audio versions rather than the live stream videos here, you can grab an audio version of the podcast through your favorite podcast app, such as Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, or Google Play Podcast. Just search for the War Report. The podcast icon will come up. Just want to let you know there are 2 wrestling podcasts called the War Report. Just make sure when you click on the icon, you will see it say Tag Me A Date on the icon. We specifically have it on there so you know that that's us. Hit the follow button or the subscribe button or whatever it is on your app. Ryan pulls the audio, delivers it to you within the hour of the show going off the air, so you still get the audio on Tuesday night as well as the video. And that's it. You can follow us, on our socials. You can listen to all the old shows, either audio or video, on YouTube or the podcast apps or whatever. And then we're going to be right back here with the new episode and all the updates and news and gossip and rumors for pro wrestling next week, next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Please tell your friends. We'd love to have them along on the ride. If you've got friends that are wrestling fans, you think they'd enjoy our podcast, shoot them a link to the show. We would love to have you drop in. We had a new commenter here on YouTube tonight. We have Tara over here holding the chat down. So we definitely appreciate everybody in the chat, and people want to send questions or comments or whatever as the show is going on live. I would encourage you to do so. Get on Facebook, get on YouTube, get on Twitch, whatever. We're going to see your comment and respond to it. So share the show, tell your friends, and come back next week, Tuesday, 6 p.m. We'll see you then. Have a nice week, everybody.